Welcome to Financial Issues, where we join reality with truth, helping you make the most of your money by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
Well, good morning, folks. Welcome to Financial Issues. It's wonderful to be here with you all this morning. I'm Seth Udinsky in today for Shana Burt. Great to be here. Sam Case here with me as well. It is Thursday, May the 1st. It is officially National Day of Prayer. We celebrated National Day of Prayer here at the ministry yesterday, so you can check out yesterday's episode if you want to hear our thoughts on it. But I do hope you are praying for our country this May the 1st. Grateful to be here with you, folks. Hope that you'll ask your questions, get those in the chat. Join us on the phone lines as well. We're open today, 610-363-1110. Folks, on today's show, we will have Shana Burt actually joining us a little bit later in the show, answering your partner questions and discussing an interesting fallout we saw. Corporations apparently continue to ditch LGBTQ agendas. I, for one, am for it. Many of you are, I know, as well. This is great news. Shana will be on the show later to discuss this. You're not going to want to miss that. Also, a little further later on in the show, earlier this week, we heard some whisperings of a political battle brewing between the Trump administration and Amazon. Now, Amazon does report earnings later today, so we'll keep an eye out for that. But we'll make some sense of what I'm calling a curious kerfluffle here between Amazon and the Trump administration. Seems like it maybe has cooled down a little bit, but of course we'll have to see. Your calls and questions as well, folks. 610-363-1110. Before we get to any of that, though, today's a very special day for us in our ministry as we begin our Pre-Born Mother's Day campaign. This is an annual campaign that we do for our friends at Pre-Born. Our motto for this is making motherhood possible. Making motherhood possible. You know, since 2016, the FISM family has been a key contributor to help save the lives of unborn babies by partnering with Pre-Born, and we are so grateful for this successful relationship that we've had with Pre-Born over the years. So we want to continue to fund the light this year and save babies. If you've been with us in past years, it's a very similar campaign to previous years. So we have an anonymous donor who is coming alongside every dollar that we raise here. So here's how it goes. Every time we hit the $5,600 mark, so every time $5,600 is raised, this anonymous donor will purchase an ultrasound machine that will save the lives of thousands of babies. Now, these machines run anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 typically. So this very, very generous person is really stepping in for us here. Every dollar counts, folks, whether it's just $28, that covers the cost of one ultrasound scan. You do a 5-pack of scans for $140. Or if you have the means to underwrite a full ultrasound machine at $5,600, I'd encourage you to give that way. Our goal for this month, $280,000. That's 50 machines placed. And the really cool part of this is for us, the amount we raise for Pre-Born, dollar for dollar, will then be matched as a gift for FISM as well. So if you love FISM, give to Pre-Born. Okay, if you love Pre-Born, give to Pre-Born also. But if you love FISM, now's the time to give to Pre-Born. The financial issues warriors have come through time and time again for Pre-Born, and we want to ask you to do that again this year, folks. So if the Lord's placed it on your heart to give, there's no better time to do it than right now. Preborn.com/FISM is the place to go. Preborn.com/FISM. You know, folks, the need for the church to stand and fight for the unborn only increasing. Sam, quickly here, tell us why. We're seeing the abortion pill apparently more dangerous than most folks thought it was. What do we have with that?
That's right. It's not just dangerous for the baby, but also for the mother, it appears. As you're right, a new study by the Foundation for the Restoration of America found the abortion pill 22 times more dangerous than the FDA claimed. That study shows about 1 in 10 women have a serious adverse event after taking the abortion drug Mifepristone. This can include things like hemorrhaging, sepsis, going to the emergency room, needing a blood transfusion, all awful stuff. And this also comes at a time when the use of the abortion pill is just skyrocketing. Up to 63% of all abortions in 2023 were done through the abortion pill.
Scary stuff, Sam. It is no shock, though. This is a pill, after all, that kills a baby. Are we really surprised that it's also harmful to the mother? It's just insane stuff here. And folks, this is why we need to be standing with Pre-Born, fighting back against this darkness. So this morning, I got a special treat for you. I've got Roxy Lamorgese. Roxy's the executive director of Pre-Born. She works closely alongside with Dan Steiner and the executive team over at Pre-Born Ministries. Roxy, welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us today and for being a part of this campaign with us.
Seth, thank you for having us. And I just want to thank you all for being such a great support to the Ministry of Life and the gospel over the past few years. And we'll just start with the celebratory news. And, over the past few years, FISM and all your supporters have been such a great support to the mission that together we have seen over the lifetime of Pre-Born now more than 355,000 babies saved from abortion and more than 88,000 commitments to Christ.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And that's such a huge part of you all, what you did, the Financial Issues family. So thank you for that. And Roxy, thank you for giving us that encouragement there. That is amazing. Roxy, we just heard that horrific statistic that Sam had brought up. Apparently the abortion pill is 22 times more dangerous than the FDA claimed. What a surprise, right? That's sarcasm. It's not a surprise at all. As someone who, interfaces with women in crisis pregnancies on a day-to-day basis, what is your take on the profound danger of this pill? Especially as Sam mentioned, this seems to be the wave of the future. It seems like more and more the abortion, like the place that it takes place tends to be in the privacy of a bathroom. What would you, say in regards to this?
Yeah, I think number one, there's not much restrictions to it. Number two, there's not much test to ascertain the safety of a woman, right? So I don't know why even logically we would think that a pill that would kill a baby or stop a heartbeat is safe at all. And this narrative that it's as safe as Tylenol, but I'm sorry, Tylenol doesn't stop a heartbeat, right?
Yeah, right.
So I think number one, logically, we already know that it's a lie. And for those of us who know the truth, it's easy to spot. But it's easy to talk about statistics and science. But here's the reality. I once heard of a story of this young lady that took the pill, but they don't care, so they didn't really test her for anything. Little did she know she had that clotting disorder, meaning she is unable to clot. When she starts bleeding, she'll just continue to bleed out. Well, she took the pill without any test. She was brought into the ER, and they couldn't even bring her at a regular station because their sheets were drenched. She was carried in a tarpaulin. She was bleeding all over. She needed immediate blood transfusion, unit after unit, because she was fighting for her life. She needed emergency surgery, and at a very young age, complete hysterectomy, unable to have children, fighting for her life. She did make it, barely, but that's the consequence. And I know stories after stories of that. I have heard women in sepsis that have had all the way to cardiomyopathy, having to stay in ICU. Women that are now saying, look, if I could help, let me share my story, because I didn't expect all of this. There's no pre-assessment. There's no post-survey. It's just they're left out there to suffer. That's not reproductive health.
No. Not at all. Not at all. And, one of the beautiful things about what Pre-Born does, Roxy, is you guys actually care about women also. You care about fathers, too, which is pretty amazing. But you care about the babies, obviously, saving babies from abortion. But you also care about protecting women from these life-threatening drugs that they take, drugs that kill their babies, and then also can be really harmful for them, as we saw in the case of this young woman. Praise God that she survived, but this very easily could have killed her as well. And it's no surprise that these murderous drugs have such harm on mothers also. It angers me. I know it angers you as well. But Roxy, this is why we're doing this campaign and why we're doing campaigns like this. So when listeners give to Pre-Born this month, Roxy, where is this money going directly, and how does Pre-Born use it to end abortion in our country?
At the end of the day, it's one woman at a time, right? So what we're asking for, $28 per ultrasound or $140 per 5 scans. And like you said, if they have capacity to $5,600 to match an ultrasound machine, go straight 100% to a woman so she could receive a free ultrasound, right? The free ultrasound does 2 things. Number one, actually 3 things. Number one, it actually gives this woman a free opportunity to get an education of where exactly she is in her pregnancy, the risk, and opens up an avenue that we could clinically educate her on the decision that is about to make, whether it's not for the pill or surgical abortion, right? Secondarily, it gives her an opportunity to hear the baby's heartbeat for the first time, because when she does that, it also exemplifies that life within the womb and increases her chance of actually choosing life. And lastly, it opens us up for an opportunity. Like, Pre-Born is very passionate about sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we do both. Save lives of the mom through the gospel and save lives of the babies. That's what, $28 or $140, like you said, $5,600 goes a long, long way.
Folks, I would encourage you, if your heart's been touched by what Roxy has said this morning, don't wait any longer. Please go to preborn.com/FISM. Again, preborn.com/FISM. I'll put that link in the chat there for you so you can follow that today. Preborn.com/FISM, and consider what the Lord might have you give today. As we open up this wonderful campaign that we do every year for the whole month, we're going to be raising money for our friends at Pre-Born. It's an honor to get to do it. Roxy, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure to have you. And thank you for the way that you and the ministry of Pre-Born are fighting for the lives of babies, mothers, and fathers and spreading the gospel. It's amazing. Folks, coming up next, Shana comes on answering your partner questions and talking about those headlines we were mentioning earlier. More financial issues coming right after this. Stick with us. How is Timothy Plan continuing to lead the fight as you guys now enter your fourth decade of leading this fight of biblically responsible investing?
We've been too silent for too long, and we can no longer be silent. You stand up, like Ronald Reagan said, we're only one generation away from losing all of our liberty. Yeah. It has to be fought for. I wish it didn't. And you can fight for it. You don't need guns and ammunition and that. You can fight for it, especially with your dollars, because it's always about the money. And when the money starts impacting people, they start paying attention. When we launched this, they said it couldn't be done, but here we are 30 years later. They said you couldn't get competitive returns, but here we are.
What a tremendous testament of God's grace.
Go to financialissues.org/Timothy Plans to learn more about Timothy Plan.
I remember my life before I met Jesus. I was most of the time afraid. I remember one of my teachers gave the classroom an invitation for Crossroads. When they talked to me about the love of God, I felt a sort of peace in my heart. I will commit myself to learn more about God's Word, to be able to share the gospel to others.
To help reach more kids like Louise with the life-changing hope of the gospel, visit reachOurSchools.com.
May is a time to honor mothers, their strength, sacrifice, and unconditional love. But for many women, motherhood feels uncertain and overwhelming. Fear and doubt leave them considering abortion. You can give hope. Just $28 helps a woman hear her baby's heartbeat, a powerful moment that leads 80% of mothers to choose life. Go to preborn.com/FISM to give today.
Securities offered through G.A. Reppel & Company, a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member FINRA and SIPC. Opinions expressed by Shana are hers alone and are for informational purposes only and do not necessarily represent those of G.A. Reppel or the outlet on which you are listening. You should consider how the information applies to your situation prior to personally implementing it and consult any financial professional you work with to make sure it's applicable to your financial plan.
Welcome back to Financial Issues. Thanks for staying with us here. Well, I hope that you guys will certainly be in prayer about how you can come alongside Pre-Born Ministries as we enter into this Mother's Day campaign, a way to honor the mother that chose life for you. You guys have been such a huge help in funding a good bit of the work that Pre-Born does, and it's a good work, fighting back against the darkness. We call that funding the light. That is one of the things that we are very, very passionate here at Financial Issues, is to use our resources that God gave us to manage to do His work in the earth, and that's a really, really great way to do it. So we hope that you're praying about that, or God's already spoken to your heart and you're ready to move and to act on honoring God with the resources that He gave you by helping to save the lives of babies and mothers and fathers as well. Well, the first part of our mandate, so to speak, here at Financial Issues is defunding darkness. You know, we've been engaged in pushing back against the darkness, refusing to own companies who are supporting an ungodly agenda with shareholder dollars, supporting gay pride parades and pride festivals, and funding Planned Parenthood clinics and abortion organizations, and or what they call women's right or women's health care organizations. And, you know, we just don't want to be part of that, because we believe that when we own a company, we're owning it with God's money. And so we don't want to be involved in funding those dark agendas. And I've got a little bit of good news to report. Corporate America is continuing to pull sponsorships from LGBTQ groups amid the ongoing backlash to DEI programs. So according to CNBC, Seattle Pride and New York City Pride are down $350,000 this year. San Francisco Pride, Minnesota's Twin Cities Pride, is down $200,000. So companies are keeping their sponsorships. Some of them are keeping their sponsorships, but they're even drastically reducing the funding. Even with the Human Rights Campaign, their corporate, their CEI index survey that they do every year, companies are refusing to participate in that, saying, you're not going to give us a score on how active we are in the LGBTQ space. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to answer your survey. We're not going to participate. We're not going to give you the chance to either give us a pat on the back or a knife in the back for what we choose to do with the money that we're managing for our shareholders. So, you know, this is not just about LGBTQ sponsorships. What we're seeing is a broader retreat from overt political entanglements, especially those that have sparked boycotts, brand damage, and stock price. So think Bud Light, Target, all of those things that have happened, you know, Tractor Supply and John Deere turning their backs on their DEI programs, along with a host of other companies that are feeling free now to do that. Companies are starting to listen to their customers and their shareholders rather than activists. The squeaky wheel. What a novel idea.
Yeah, right.
And the Trump administration has removed the burden of fear that the government will get you if you don't do DEI. In fact, the Trump administration has gone so far as to say that you can't do DEI if you're part of the government, and you probably shouldn't do DEI if you're in business and you're smart and you're trying to make a profit. Or if you're in education and you're expecting federal dollars to fund your DEI agenda, you should think again, especially if you have a $50 billion trust fund. I wish I could say that the BRI movement, that's the Biblically Responsible Investing movement, which we're a big part of, was the catalyst for this return to common sense. But at the end of the day, companies care more about their bottom lines than doing what's right and getting engaged in the culture war. But you know what? That's exactly what we want companies to do. We want corporations to take serious stewardship responsibility over the resources that they have to manage. We want them to just make the best good or service that they can possibly make. We want them to operate in excellence. And at the end of the day, that will generate a profit for the shareholders. And then we want, as shareholders, to be able to deploy that profit as we see fit with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So we want to be able to make decisions about how to spend profit. We don't want the corporation to make that decision for us. We are just trusting them to steward the investment that we're making in the company, to manage their resources, to manage their employees, their revenues, their debts, all of those things to generate a profit, and then return that to the individual to let them have discretion over how that money, how that profit is deployed. So let's turn our attention to the stewardship verse of the day. It comes from Hebrews 11:6. Without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Well, good works are almost completely useless to the unbeliever. The only thing that good works can do for the unbeliever is to please men. And many, myself included, have sought and found temporary pleasure in doing just that. But man has no real power to save or to reward. All we get if we're doing good works to please men is that temporary rush of dopamine when that pat on the back comes. And then when it goes away, that rush of dopamine, a longing for more pats on the back and more strokes to our egos. Biblically responsible investing is not something that we can do to earn God's favor. For me personally, my decision to be a biblically responsible investor came as a natural response to my faith in God, that he exists, that he is good, that he owns everything. And then that action was meant as a means to please God, to use what is not even mine, since God allocated to me what I have to manage. So to use what is his to please him. It's not about the stuff or even the deed, the action, the rule following. It's about the heart that desires to intently show its love and devotion to God, that pleases God. So it's about that spark in our hearts, that love that we have for God, that causes us to honor him. And when we have that spark, we look for ways that we can show our love to God. That is what God is after. It's not the material reward. It's not the deed. It's the worship that happens when we are so moved to go out of our way from that spark that's in our heart and actually take an action. My return, my reward may come as financial increase now. It may come as spiritual increase, growing closer to God, feeling the peace of God. And or it may come in heaven as treasure that is stored up in heaven. Following a bunch of rules has no eternal reward. It does not earn us salvation. We are awarded salvation when we believe and receive Jesus Christ as Lord, not as a result of anything that we have done. We are rewarded for the good things that we do when we build on that foundation of our salvation that is motivated by a heart that loves God and loves people. And the main use of rewards in heaven, here's the spoiler alert, the main use of the rewards that we get in heaven, those crowns that we get, the purpose will be the same as it is here on earth, to honor God. After all, in heaven, when we use those crowns that we got, we're going to be tossing them at the feet of Jesus. Seth, what do you think?
This is great, Shana. A really sobering verse when we realize that, the writer to the Hebrews says it right here. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. We literally, there's nothing that we can do on our own. And, even the faith that we show, coming from ourselves, that's also a gift from God. God is so abundantly gracious to us that he shows this to us. It's a wonderful reminder of the gospel. It's a wonderful reminder of who we are, and hopefully can put us in the right place as we realize, okay, every good gift I have comes from God. Let me be a good steward of it, because none of it comes from me. It's all of God. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you've heard this. Maybe your heart is convicted. Maybe you're looking at your portfolio and you're finding out that you own companies and you're profiting from companies that are funding things that are not honoring to God. And maybe you want to do something different, but maybe you're discouraged because maybe you don't have the time to be your own portfolio manager or build your own portfolio like you can do with a partnership with Financial Issues. But great news, there's an alternative. The Timothy Plan is a biblically responsible mutual fund company. They are the pioneers of biblically responsible investing and have been doing it for the last 30 years. and they're good at it. So Timothy Plan is equally yoked with our ministry, and they have stood alongside us for more than a decade. So if you want a more hands-off approach to building a biblically responsible portfolio, if you want to have great confidence that the money that you want to trust somebody else to manage is being done in a way that does not grieve the heart of God, we encourage you to check out the Timothy Plan. You can find out more information at timothyplan.com, or you can call them 1-800-846-7526. You can find all of that information and information about our strategy and the way that we help you be your own portfolio manager by going to our website at financialissues.org. Well, folks, we are coming up on a break here. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back. If you have to leave us, if you're watching only the short version of the show, we encourage you to get our phone app or find our website and find ways to watch the entire show on podcast, Apple, Spotify, or again, our website, financialissues.org. Everyone else, hang around. We're going to be back with more financial issues right after this.
Each May, we celebrate Mother's Day and the gift that mothers are to us. But for many women carrying a child, motherhood feels uncertain. They're facing fear, doubt, and some are considering abortion. This May, you can help make motherhood possible by supporting Pre-Born. Pre-Born partners with clinics across the country, providing free ultrasounds and sharing the hope of Jesus Christ with women who are abortion-minded. When you give to Pre-Born, you're giving these women a chance to choose life. Just $28 helps a woman hear her baby's heartbeat, a powerful moment that leads 80% of mothers to choose life. And when we come together to sponsor 200 ultrasounds, we'll equip a Pre-Born clinic with a life-saving ultrasound machine. Will you help make motherhood possible? Go to preborn.com/FISM to give today. That's preborn.com/FISM.
Pharrell came to Crossroads as a fourth grader. His name had been brought to my attention by the school principal. She was concerned about the direction he was heading.
I remember I wasn't the best kid. I got into trouble a lot.
He became a very active part of Crossroads Kids Club.
Mr. Engel, he was the leader that really impacted my life in so many ways. I honestly didn't want Crossroads to end.
We would invite all the students to come to our youth group here at Waterfront.
I felt God saying, come on, come to me. It felt like I was set free.
And I'll never forget the day when we had the privilege and the honor to baptize Pharrell.
I hugged Mr. Engel. I don't know if he understands. I'm truly, thankful to have him through the whole journey. If it wasn't for Crossroads, I probably wouldn't be in the place that I am right now. I wouldn't be a follower of Christ.
Help reach more kids like Pharrell with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachourschools.com.
Welcome back to Financial Issues. I'm your host, Shana Burt. Thanks for sticking with us here. Well, we're accumulating a backlog of questions from our listeners and our partners, so we want to get you some answers today. Seth? What do we have?
Yeah, let's do it, Shana. Let's start with Wesley here. Wesley is 55. He is a partner. And he says, since before becoming a partner, I've been actively trading crypto. It's not an investment asset as it's way too volatile, but that makes it excellent for trading. I keep $1,000 in the crypto account and move anything above that to my investment account when it reaches about $1,250. Can these crypto profits count as earned income for a Roth account? I know you hate the strategy, but it does build about $250 per week using meme coins. Interesting stuff. What have you have for Wesley there?
Yeah, Wesley, I'll leave that crypto trading stuff to you. The profits that you get from buying and selling crypto or buying and selling stock is considered to be a capital gain. So it is something that you do have to pay taxes on. And if it's things that are happening weekly, I would tend to think that it's going to be taxed at your ordinary income rate as a short-term gain. So one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you're accumulating enough money to pay the taxes, the capital gains taxes that you'll accumulate. I guess if you've been doing it a while, you probably already know that is going to happen. So it is not considered earned income to be able to fund a Roth. So you have to have some sort of W-2 wage or 1099, or you can count rental income under some certain circumstances if you're set up in the proper way. There might be a few other things that you can probably go to the IRS website and find out exactly what earned income is and see if you have any of those things. But unfortunately, your capital gains are not going to be considered earned income for a Roth account.
Yep. Good stuff, Shana. Up next is Dawn. Dawn is not a partner, but has a good question. Says, I'm a widow of almost 4 years. My husband told me to put the insurance money into the stock market and live off that. Money's going out both ends because of my monthly allowance. End of the market's not doing well. My son wants me to take all the money out and put it into gold or silver. I'm at a loss for what to do. I need monthly allowance, and I'm not sure I can get that from gold or silver. If you have time, could you please advise me? Dawn does not say how old she is, Shana.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so one thing that I would say is one of the core pillars of our investment strategy is diversification. So you'll find a little bit of exposure to gold and silver in our strategy, but I think it's a bad idea to put everything in one category. The other thing about metals is they don't generate any income. So, if you're looking to generate income from your portfolio, what you're going to have to do is you're going to be forced to sell off pieces. If you invest it all, you're going to have to sell off pieces of that to be able to get the kind of monthly income that you need. I know that you're not a partner, and this hopefully doesn't sound too self-serving, but what I would consider is to become a partner. We have asset allocation models that are going to help you institute that core principle of diversification, because what happens over time, you look at metals, you look at commodities, you look at bonds, which are another type of investment. It's a debt type of investment. And you look at stocks and equities. And what you'll find is that under different economic circumstances, they all prosper at different times. So the principle of diversification helps to buffer the volatility in your portfolio. So, when bonds are doing good, your portfolio is going to participate or benefit from the growth, the preservation and the income there. When stocks are doing well, same thing there. You're going to get the growth that you need. So it really helps to reduce that kind of volatility. It helps to generate income, and it just helps with overall risk management and working towards meeting your goals if you're going to commit to being diversified. Because, at the end of the day, gold and silver are really speculative commodities as well. I mean, they have done well. Gold is at an all-time high right now. I'm not saying that means that you shouldn't consider it as part, because there are some underlying trends that tell us that probably has a really good chance to continue. Central banks have been accumulating gold at really high levels, so that pushes up the demand for it. But I really suggest not focusing in and concentrating on any one thing, but rather adopting a strategy of diversification. The Bible talks about this principle in lots of different ways as well.
Yeah, Shana, that's really awesome. You know, if I could maybe say a word of encouragement to Dawn as well, I believe that she can do it. I mean, it just seems like from what she said at the end there, she needs the monthly allowance. Not sure she can get that from silver or gold. She has that foundational wisdom. She's right. Gold and silver doesn't pay that monthly dividend. So yeah, I would agree with you, 100% there. Hopefully she would consider becoming a partner for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, Willie is also not a partner, but asking a good foundational question here, Shana, saying, I'm 76. Should I be investing now or just leave what I have in the bank? And he doesn't say how much he has. What do you think?
Doesn't say how much he has.
Yeah.
It doesn't say what he needs it for.
Right.
So I'm going to answer your question, Willie, with a series of questions. So you have to ask yourself, what are you using that money for? If you're going to be spending that sum or part of that money in the next 3 to 5 years, I would not consider investing it in anything other than an interest-bearing account like a money market or a CD. You can get some interest there, but if liquidity is your main goal, you should not consider investing, because when you invest in things that are in the market, when you invest in equities, there is a real risk that not only that you grow your money, that's the return, but there's a real risk that you could see a decrease. It might be a temporary decrease. It might be a transitory decrease. It might last longer than what the decrease may last longer than what you had planned for, and you may need to spend that money. And if you need to spend it and the value is down, then you'll be forced to take a loss. So take a look at that money. If there's a portion of it that is short term, carve that out, set it aside, put it in a savings account. Maybe use some CDs to get some interest on it, and then anything that you have a longer time horizon on, you can consider investing. If you have, I would say at least 5 years, but 5 to 10 years to invest that money if you want it to grow. So even then, you can choose to be more or less aggressive. We have, if you look at our buy list, we have companies that are in investments that are good for the 20-year-old, and we have investments that are good for a 76-year-old. So it just really depends on what the circumstances are, the timing of when you're going to need that money, and your risk tolerance. If you can't, if you look at that money and you say, I don't think I could handle seeing the value decline by 10% or more, then I wouldn't consider investing much of it at all. But look at it as a whole. So, maybe you do have the appetite to invest 20% of it or 50% of it, or maybe all of it. So there's a lot of things to consider there. And I think if you walk through those things, if you are answering those questions mentally in your mind, that's going to lead you to either, yes, you should look more at investing it, or maybe, no, I'm not willing to take those risks, so that's not for me.
Yeah, good, Shana. That's awesome. Next one is Jacqueline, also not a partner, but asking another good question. I'm single. I'm in a single household, barely scraping by. Thanks to God, I am able to scrape by. I was wondering if someone could help me with my portfolio advice for just a one-time payment or free advice. I need to know if I should get out of Vanguard and go somewhere else in my Roth IRA. If not, how do I navigate Vanguard with the Roth IRA? I have about $7,000 just sitting in the Roth IRA account. What do you think?
Yeah, so if your heart is to be biblically responsible, if your heart is that you don't want the companies that you're invested in supporting an ungodly agenda, because you still do have stewardship, even though Vanguard may be managing the money, you're going to give an account one day for how that money was managed. You still have authority over that money. So Vanguard does not offer many, if any, biblically responsible options, because they just don't screen for it. They don't think it's important. So they don't screen to see if the companies that they're investing in are using shareholder dollars to fund those ungodly agendas. So I would suggest, if your heart is moved for being biblically responsible, to move out of Vanguard. You could open a self-directed account at a discount brokerage like Fidelity. Even Vanguard has a brokerage platform, so it might be an easy move if you want to stay with Vanguard. But if you want to be biblically responsible, your options are going to be to become a partner with us, then get access to our asset allocation models that you can implement on your own, or you could choose to go to a place like the Timothy Plan. So the Timothy Plan is a mutual fund company, like Vanguard is a mutual fund company. So they do professional management. The difference is that the Timothy Plan is going to use biblically responsible screens to make sure that none of your money is grieving the heart of God. So great questions there.
That's awesome.
So many things. So we are coming up on a break here. We're not finished with the show, so we hope that you're going to stick around because we've got more financial issues to come. I'm your host, Shana Burt. Please find out about our ministry by going to financialissues.org. We are listener and partner supported. So when you choose to be a partner or contribute to our ministry, it helps us to stay right here on the air. Stick around. We'll be back.
It's up to us to stand up and say, enough is enough. All of this unbiblical stuff that's going on, whether it's abortion or transsexual or LGBTQ, widespread pornography, human trafficking. Bottom line, it's still up to us. If we stop investing in these corporations that are trying to destroy us, sooner or later they're going to wake up.
To learn more about biblically responsible mutual funds and ETFs, go to timothyplan.com.
Each May, we celebrate Mother's Day and the gift that mothers are to us. This May, you can help make motherhood possible by supporting Pre-Born. Pre-Born partners with clinics across the country, providing free ultrasounds and sharing the hope of Jesus Christ with women who are abortion-minded. When you give to Pre-Born, you're giving these women a chance to choose life. Go to preborn.com/FISM to give today. That's preborn.com/FISM.
My wife and I, we moved into this neighborhood. We had some experience with Crossroads Kids Club. We had served at another club. We kind of thought to ourselves, like, it would be really, really cool for us to actually bring in a club that was able to share the love of Jesus with kids directly into the school. And so we started our Crossroads at Hilltop.
Crossroads is amazing. You can learn all kinds of things about God. That He loves all of us. He died on the cross to pay for our sins. That He will help me in every way.
There is just such tremendous opportunity to reach kids in some of these areas that just aren't being reached.
Sometimes I pray every night. When I feel alone sometimes, God is right there sitting next to me. I can rely on Him no matter what happens.
To learn more about Crossroads Kids Club and how you can get involved, visit reachourschools.com.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Welcome back to the program here, folks. We're taking you the rest of the way. Great to have Shana on with us there. She'll be on tomorrow, by the way, for the full show, so I hope you'll tune in for that. It is Rapid Fire Friday tomorrow, so we're going to try to get a lot of calls in, so make sure that you get your call queued up early tomorrow. We do also have Bible study in the morning. If you want to join us, get up early and join us. We'll be in Daniel 4, verses 10 through 27. It's actually a pretty long one, one of the longest in terms of verse-wise that we've ever done together on the Bible study, so should be an interesting one, Daniel's Dream of the Tree. All right, so we got some breaking news coming out here. Sam, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. So it looks like the U.S. and Ukraine have come to a mineral deal. What can you tell us about this, Sam?
Yes, indeed they have, Seth. Yep. A long-awaited deal. The overview of it was agreed to a long time ago, but now the official deal has been signed. According to the Daily Wire, the minerals agreement will give the United States access to some of Ukraine's vital natural resources, including aluminum, graphite, oil, and natural gas. In return, Ukraine will receive continued military assistance and guarantees from the United States to help the long-term reconstruction of the country.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Sam. We were talking during the break, Sam and I was telling him, the staunch isolationist in me is like, I'm not so sure about this. But from a more cohesive perspective, I think this is a really good thing. And Sam, you brought up a great point. We get something out of this. I mean, you can't beat that.
I'm always forgetting something out of international affairs. My take is, if we're going to do something, the United States is going to intervene in the world, we best be getting something out of it. And we are certainly getting something out of this right now, because remember, Seth, this also comes as China is cutting us off from their rare earth minerals. So this will be making up for some of that. You discussed that with Jason last week, I think. I encourage our audience to go back and listen to that conversation, because it was very informative. But that does this deal does come with that in mind as well.
Yeah. So that's definitely good stuff there. And Sam, it certainly is a break from what we have seen in the last 4 years, where it was not a give and take relationship with the United States and Ukraine. We basically gave them whatever they wanted.
It was a give and give relationship.
It was a give and give. That's right. It was give and give and give. And of course, there were many components to that having to do with the Biden administration, which we won't get into. But you can kind of read between the lines there and see what we're saying there. Great stuff, Sam. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's really important, and hopefully that can. It seems like it's a big step in the right direction towards ending this thing over there. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. But that is really good stuff. All right, folks, let's move now to the markets. So yesterday, the indices opened heavily down, so they were not pleased. We mentioned on the show yesterday the past quarter's GDP report. We did have a negative quarter of GDP. The current definition, again, the definitions always change, but a second of those should be definitionally a recession. We had that during the Biden administration, and people kind of try to do verbal gymnastics to get out of it. So we'll see if that does happen, if we get another negative quarter of it. But anyway, at any rate, the markets were not pleased by that. Midday, they cooled off a little bit, and by late afternoon, they were cooling off even more. Actually, they made a mad dash at the end of the day to finish in the positive, and they did. At least two of them did. The Dow Jones ended up finishing a third of a percent positive. The S&P 500 was about 1/8% positive, and the NASDAQ barely at the flat line. It was just below the flat line, but really not much change from where it started that day at all. Now, the pre-markets this morning were really having a great time. They were feeling awesome, and they've opened quite positively. The Dow Jones up about 0.2%, the S&P 500 over a full percent, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ up almost 2%. The reason for that is we got some very strong earnings reports from two of the Magnificent Seven stocks. So Microsoft and Meta both beat on earnings. Microsoft shares rose 9% in pre-market trading this last night, and then into this morning as well. The company reported better than expected quarterly results. Meta as well rose about 5%. Company reported stronger than expected revenue in the first quarter. So the market's certainly pleased with that. Now, we have two more Magnificent Seven stocks reporting today. We've got Apple and then Amazon, of course. Speaking of Amazon, Sam, what are we calling this battle between Trump and Amazon? Is it a scruffle, a kerfluffle, a tussle?
Well, according to the title I just put on the screen, it says tussle. So I don't know. That can be up to personal interpretation. Define your little tiffs, if you will. That's right. But I'm calling it a tussle.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It was a little bit of a tussle. So bring us up to speed on what happened here, Sam. This was from earlier this week that we're now getting more clarity on Trump versus Amazon.
Yeah, it's drama. It's juicy. Amazon is now, after this whole tussle with Donald Trump, denying reports that it was planning to list tariff prices next to its products. So if you bought something on Amazon, theoretically, you were going to see an extra price on the side saying, hey, this is how much the tariffs added to the cost of this product. That report came from Punchbowl News, a very reputable insider newspaper telling you what's going on in the business world and in Washington, D.C. mostly. It cited an anonymous source who said Amazon wanted to show, quote, how much an item's cost is derived from tariffs right next to the product's total listed price. As you can imagine, the White House slammed Amazon following that report, calling the move a, quote, hostile and political act. Here's the White House.
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years?
Now, Amazon has since told the New York Post that the plan was, yes, it was considered, but was never actually going to be approved. A company spokesperson said, quote, "This was never approved and it's not going to happen." Now, you can decide, is that because the Trump administration intervened, or was this whole report just some anonymous guy at Amazon mouthing off? Either way, Donald Trump says he spoke with Jeff Bezos and cleared up the whole situation. Here's Trump.
Jeff Bezos was very nice. He was terrific. He solved the problem very quickly, and he did the right thing, and he's a good guy.
So a happy ending, Seth. What do you think?
That's right. You know, it was fascinating, Sam. I hear President Trump talking there, and it sounds like a guy who was victorious. I don't know if, you know, he could be throwing an olive branch, being very gracious to Jeff Bezos. Maybe he's saving Bezos' skin there a little bit, because maybe this was a little more sinister than we had thought. But either way, Trump comes out victorious on this, which is, you know, kind of funny there. It is interesting. You know, it seems like Bezos definitely has at least respect for the current presidential administration. If not, I don't know his political leanings whatsoever at all. But you know, he kind of seemed like he was maybe leading some of that charge out of the Biden administration into good graces with the Trump administration. Whether or not it was an actual change of heart or just because it was a changing of the guard, perhaps we'll never know.
Just a tactic, maybe? Yeah, it's hard to know.
Exactly right. But either way, from a business move, I think that it was smart of Amazon to distance themselves from this rumor. They know that they have a consumer base to keep happy. A lot of conservatives use Amazon. A lot of liberals do too, I'm sure, but a lot of conservatives use it. And it seems like common sense won the day here, Sam.
You know what's funny, Seth? Yeah. I'm actually not opposed to this if you did it for everything. If you wanted to list every tax, every government economic intervention in your prices and say, look at all the stuff the government's doing to make your product more expensive. The problem here, this is clearly a political act if it actually was going to happen, because Caroline Leavitt was exactly right. Why didn't they do this for Biden? They're only doing it for Trump. But hey, if businesses wanted to do this for everything, I'd be all for it.
Absolutely. I mean, that would certainly bring some accountability to the public I'm saying accountability for the government to the eyes of the public. I'm with you. I think it'd be awesome. Certainly not from a political, like trying to oust any sort of political party, but simply across the board saying, hey, you know what, we're going to keep you accountable. So interesting stuff there. No, it's good. Sam, there was some other news here. We saw Amazon sellers opting out of Prime Day sales due to the tariffs. What can you tell us about this?
That's right. So this whole tariff conversation is certainly affecting Amazon. So Reuters reports that a number of third-party Amazon sellers are unable to cut prices for the annual Prime Day sales due to tariffs specifically on China. This is their annual, kind of like a Black Friday sale in the middle of the summer. Now, nearly half of Amazon's top sellers are based in China, so that would explain why they can't do these sales. They're actually based out of the country that is being tariffed. But these tariffs could also hurt American sellers on Amazon too, as it's estimated that over 70% of all products sold on Amazon are sourced from China. And of course, some of those people selling those products are Americans.
Good to see that news there, Sam. Thank you for the reminder. And speaking of reminders, folks, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, as we're talking about Amazon a lot in this segment, not biblically responsible. You're, of course, seeing some potentially good things, as we saw earlier, but they're not biblically responsible. We believe that you're well within your rights to use them as a good or service. Once in our ministry's history, there was something called Amazon Smile, where we were actually able to take advantage of something like that. They did away with that several years ago.
I actually did not know they got rid of that.
Yeah,
that was a cool service.
It was, I think, maybe 2 years ago or so. They ousted it, which was a bit of a bummer because it was a nice little kickback.
I wonder if they got blowback because they were supporting conservative organizations and Christian organizations through that.
Absolutely. So interesting stuff there for sure, folks. Hey, as we're coming to the end of our show, let me just remind you once again, we're starting our annual Pre-Born campaign today. So again, it's preborn.com/FISM. You can also go to financialissues.org and click the Pre-Born banner. That takes you right to the FISM specific login page. Couple tips for you, folks. It is imperative that when you give, you note that you're a Financial Issues listener. So you can do that by going to that link. And you know, the reason for this is so that your donation has that triple impact, so that it's a kickback to Financial Issues as well. Once again, the easiest way to do it, financialissues.org, click the banner near the top of the page. Automatically, that registers you as an FISM listener. Now, you can also dial pound 250 and say keyword baby if you're more comfortable calling into Pre-Born, but you got to make sure that you tell the operator you are a Financial Issues listener. This is part part of the Financial Issues campaign. So if you're going to call in and do it the old-fashioned way, just make sure that you give them those kind of, directives there about, this is what this campaign is for. I've heard this on Financial Issues, and so on and so forth. So we appreciate you all so much joining us. We'll keep you updated daily as how this campaign is going. Let's knock this thing out of the park, folks, and save babies and bring mothers and fathers to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Great to be here with you all, folks. God willing, we'll do it again tomorrow. I'm excited for it. I hope you'll join us for Bible study in the morning and then the show as well, 9:05 Eastern Time. Get your calls queued up early. Remember, it's all His. Let's be found good and faithful stewards with what God has given to us. We'll see you next time on Financial Issues.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.